All right, I'll give you the full context of this situation. It's a little bit of a dicey one. So there's a UFC champion called Alex Pereira. He's very, very famous. Uh, and he has been accused of rape, right, by this girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's come out of nowhere with these accusations. The accusations that she's making are extremely damning. So I'll play the video, then I'll play you Sneako's response to it, which I only heard a little bit of, but didn't sound good. And then you guys let me know what you think about what she's saying and what Sneako's saying. Now, I'll warn you, it's not pleasant to listen to,
Mm.
but it's just accusations at this point. Alex Pereira hasn't even commented on it.
Yeah.
This entire time that I was with him was to ask me to help him put it in. I tried to put it in, but I was nervous, so I couldn't. So he did it, and he put it in my ass, and then he assaulted me. Afterwards, he got up, he took a shower, I laid in bed, just kind of like disassociated, not even really like realizing what had just happened. I'm scared as fuck, and I don't know if I can use the shower, and I'm scared to ask him. So I just go to the bathroom and I sit on the toilet for a few minutes while I literally bleed. I come back to bed after going to the bathroom. He kisses me on the forehead and he spoons me to sleep. His translator and my friend came in the next morning, woke us up. I get dressed, they get us an Uber. We go back to our hotel, pack up our stuff, and that's it. That's what happened. I don't really know what else to say, and I don't really like expect everybody to believe me. I knew that nobody was gonna believe me just based off of that TikTok that I posted. I guess I just wasn't expecting as many threatening comments.
Okay, so those are the accusations against Alex Pereira right now. Alex Pereira is like admired heavily by UFC fans.
Yeah.
He's obviously the champion right now. He's one of the most famous fighters, and he's at the height of his popularity right now. So everyone's heard this story now, and they're like, "This has come out of nowhere." But obviously things can happen behind closed doors. People can come forward. So I'll play you Sneako's response now.
That's horrific. If what that girl is saying is true, that's a fucked up experience to have, to be fair.
So that's Alex Pereira.
Mhm.
Right, so obviously this guy's a unit. If he did do something like this as a woman, there's nothing you can do. This is the kind of guy that ragdolls guys twice his size. So he's, if she was in that
I
situation,
don't want to, just because by the way that the video sounded, obviously it was almost like it was consensual, but she didn't consent to anal sex, and he kind of like just was behind her and then put it in her ass.
yeah,
So in the way, because that's not the sex act that she consented to, that's why it's being counted obviously as rape, because it was obviously a traumatic event.
yeah.
Right? So even I'm just trying to process that, like how that event even happened.
Would you still class that as?
I would absolutely.
I don't think I would class it as rape if they agreed to do it and she didn't tell him that she was uncomfortable and he put it in her. If she obviously started crying whilst he's doing it, then you stop. But if she is crying afterwards, you can't accuse him.
I think that
Because how would he know?
there's a huge, like, again, the power dynamic here. He is literally a unit. Like, the surprise of, like she said, she was shy to put it in. So maybe he took that as, you know, like mixed signals. You could argue that. But ultimately, people don't tend to have sex anally first. Like, you don't naturally jump to, oh, this guy wants me to fuck her in the ass. Like, you just naturally jump to, oh, I'm just going to have sex with this
I
guy.
agree, but she could have turned around and said no. At no point did she try to stop.
We don't know how forcefully he,
Based off of what she said, I'll read to you what she's also typed out
like,
as
he
well.
said she bled, dude. Like, that's pretty, like, that has to be pretty vigorous. Like, you're clearly not fucking comfortable. Like, I don't know, like, maybe it's a little bit, like, traumatic for her to turn around and be like, you know, I was literally in agony. I was telling him, you know, like it's a traumatic thing to go through. So like you could tell she was trying to stick very much to the facts. Like, do you know what I mean? Not how she
I feel
felt.
like when you're putting something like this out there, we need every bit of detail, because now you're putting it to the public. So obviously there's going to be questions, there's going to be threats thrown at you.
Yeah, because what she's saying happened a little while ago, and she's saying that she's only managed to muster up the courage to come forward now. So if you're going through that situation and you're processing it, and you finally mustered up the courage, you kind of need to explain it in intricate detail, because I don't disbelieve her, but I don't think that's how it played out. It doesn't
We
sound.
didn't view the original TikTok though either. What we viewed was her responding to a comment about proof to the TikTok. Just
No,
the
no,
thing, so.
they were putting it on here. So she made this post originally because she put a picture up of him, the one I showed you, and then she made this post. So the post says, "Took me a while to find the courage to come out and say this, but I've been struggling so much with my mental health, and I can barely get off bed these days. It's eating me alive, keep it inside, and not talking about it because I'm scared. But I'm hoping this will help me heal and not feel so alone. I know some people won't believe me and think I'm chasing clout and stuff like that, but I just want to feel normal again, and I'm hoping maybe me finding the courage to tell my story is the first step in that direction. If any other women have ever experienced this, I'm so sorry, you're not alone, and I hope that this helps you find your voice again too." And then she's done all the hashtags for UFC, I guess, to get their attention. The question that people were asking was, have the police been alerted firstly before social media, which there's been no confirmation of. And people are a little bit skeptical of her story just because it seems like there's so many holes in it. I get, like, I can understand that situation being traumatic, but I think if you're gonna come forward after some time has passed and put the story online, you need to give a step by step, because there are holes in that story.
I'm curious, I'd like to know when this actually happened, and was he at the level he is at now in the public eye?
Well, he's been a star for quite some time now. It's kind of gone into, I wouldn't say superstardom, but he's definitely up there. Like, he's the guy that everybody kind of fears right now.
I think this is like dicey because, you know, what's the statute of limitations on a person's trauma? Like, how long does it take a person to get through something is completely subjective. You know, it can take someone months, it can take someone, like it didn't fucking faze me at all, and I'm gonna, you know, go do the logical thing. It can take a lot of people, different methods to get to that place, be it therapy or whatever it is, and it can take them years. And when that happens, even in the best situations where, you know, the person goes to the police straight away, and even then, half the time there's not enough evidence. So I think it puts a lot of stress on the victim at the worst point, you know, in the most important part of the process. And some people are willing to take that step and some people aren't, and do it in the court of public opinion because they feel they need to use their voice to warn other women that they could potentially be a victim of this, and if they are, to do the process, which is do it and go straight away to the police. But, you know, the whole thing of like maybe bleeding out of your rear end and like having to go through that emotionally and then go through it again when you're telling it like to the police, and then having them kind of ask these questions, like, it's so uncomfortable, and I can't imagine if that actually happened to her, if like how that would feel, exactly how she's portraying it.
Now,
Extremely difficult to talk about.
on the flip side, this is what I think about the situation. Because of the lack of information, her story, I can only go on based on what she said, right? And what she has said, it could be true, and it could also be the case that they went to have sex consensually, and he put it in her, and it was uncomfortable, and she didn't say anything at the time. He was unaware. Whatever happened, and then he went to the bathroom, and she started crying or felt a certain type of way about it. I think that's possible as well.
I think we need to draw a line. Being or consenting to sex is not the same thing as consenting to anal sex. And being surprised sex is the same as being raped.
I'm saying
If
consenting to anal.
someone just decides, I'm just going to pop it in your rear end without asking for my consent, I'm absolutely going to be shocked about it. And if obviously this person is a stranger, obviously I'm not ever going to be in this situation, but myself, but say I was, you know, I would maybe be in shock. I'd maybe be like, I don't know if I'm should I just get on with this situation? Like, you know, maybe as you're going through the motions in your head, the situation is over almost before you know it, because you're disassociating in the event.
Yeah.
So it's a fucked up situation to talk about, because I don't ever want to turn around to a victim, especially someone who is potentially going through something really fucked up, and come at it with judgment.
I'm not
especially
judging
from-
that. I'm just looking at all potential avenues.
myself, like, I'm just saying for myself, like, I wouldn't, from her perspective, she might feel that way, regardless of how or what our intentions are.
This video just makes me think I need to reevaluate if I was to ever have a sexual relationship with someone new. I'd have to say no anal sex.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
like, that's a bit
if
wild.
you agree,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you agree to have sex and he
Yeah.
sticks it in your ass, you're like, I didn't agree to that. But if you agree to have anal sex and then he puts it in you and you don't say anything, I don't
and
think
you're
you can.
uncomfortable. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
though.
You can't claim.
That's different. But I feel like that's maybe maybe you're right. Maybe
Because
needs to
she
be a little
didn't
bit
give
clearer
enough information.
in what she's saying. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding it. Like I said, that's why earlier when I was trying to go through the situation, I was trying to assert like what exactly is the situation. Was it that she didn't consent to that particular part, or was it, you know, that it considered it was just uncomfortable for her?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna play you. I haven't heard Sneako's response now,
Right.
but judging from the caption, it's not a good one. I'm not even gonna tell you what the caption says because he's gonna say it in the video.
Okay.
Just fasten your seatbelts. I don't think it's gonna be pleasant to listen to.
This whole thing has not been pleasant.
Every time you see the chick that says like, this famous successful athlete took it without consent, like, okay, they're rich, famous, tall, extremely in shape, and then you look at the girl, you're like, you're not really rapeable.
That's fucking crazy.
That is a crazy thing to
That
say.
is fucking
Disgusting.
crazy thing to say.
This is why.
What do you deem rapeable?
This is why whenever people say to me that Sneako has reformed, he deserves a second chance, I always look at them and laugh. Sneako will say anything to get clicks. Anything. You're not rapeable is one of the most insane things that I've heard, considering like we've heard of horror stories happening to people that are not whatever he's trying to make out. You don't have to be a supermodel to get to catch that. Especially like living in these areas, we know what it's like. So
That's awful.
Sneako's a piece of shit.
Yeah, 100%.
He just makes me think. So if you got big tits, big ass, it's okay to do that to a girl.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are grapeable, it's okay. Like, what are you trying to say here?
He's trying to say she's so ugly, no one will do it. That's basically what he's
That's
getting
ridiculous.
at. I mean, of course that's ridiculous. Everything that
That's
comes
ridiculous.
out of his mouth is ridiculous.
Like, objectively, you're wrong. Like, the girl is attractive. She also doesn't need to be doing this.
Also, it was just
I don't even know who this guy is.
look at him. He's
just
such a
by
piece of shit. He's smiling into the camera
Like,
as well.
this is a person potentially telling you their story,
Yeah.
and this is your reaction to it. Obviously, like you said, it is an allegation, but I take an allegation, like everyone kind of does on the internet, pretty seriously. You know, we're just like, shit, you know, is this real? Is this true? You know?
I would never say to somebody, I would always question them because it's so serious that
That's fair.
whoever has committed the offence here, whether she's the liar or he's the rapist, they're going to get done for it, right? So I'd always treat it as 50-50 because we don't know. But I would never turn around to a girl who has made an allegation, no matter how wacky it might sound to me, and say, you don't even look rapeable.
Yeah.
That is... I can't imagine being his mother and hearing those words come out of his mouth.
If someone was that down bad to take pussy, would it be with you? A whole reputation, career on the line, multi-millionaire. Like, first off, 99% of Western women are gonna give it up. But for the 1% that wouldn't, or the 0.1% that wouldn't, they don't look like you. You're not rapeable, lady.
Basically, his assistant sends us an Uber to where we are after the UFC fight and brings us back to the Courtyard Marriott, where we were supposed to be waiting for Alex to get back from an interview, I think he said, and then we were gonna go out. He was talking
He doesn't even speak English, right?
about going to strip clubs and like having a fun night while we were all in New Jersey, New York for the weekend.
He doesn't speak English.
Yeah, he had his translator with him apparently. His English is
translator's not in
extremely
the fucking room when they're having sex. Now, when you're having sex, communication is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
And case in point, this, if it is a case of miscommunication, you have put yourself in a very fucked up and unfortunate situation with someone who can't understand you when you're saying, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex wouldn't know. He doesn't.
Obviously, on the offhand as well, body language is huge in sex.
Yeah.
When something fucking hurts or when you see blood, you fucking know something's not right. So, I don't know.
Do you think it's possible, you know, what you were saying with power dynamics, do you think it's possible she would just try to firm it and not? And then that would, although that sucks for her, it would exonerate Alex as well, because he just doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Exactly. Just see what I'm saying? Like, the power dynamic is huge. Add on top the miscommunication that could happen here. Like, it's a recipe for fucking disaster, and she's essentially living with the trauma of having to firm that uncomfortable situation because she wasn't able to communicate herself at all, you know, or make herself heard.
I can imagine if what she's saying is true, Alex also now has to deal with the fact that he didn't know he was doing it, but
potentially assaulted someone without
no clue.
Knowing.
Obviously, like, we need to mention the other stuff, like the physical stuff, like the body language. There are physical cues of when someone is uncomfortable, and maybe it's possible that he may have ignored some of those. It's not uncommon for some men to do that. Yeah. You know, even in day to day.
Push him off.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, but what you're saying as well, if she didn't signal to him, even I don't want to make if that happened to her, it sucks, but also that is like you really fucked up because now you've put this guy in hot water. He has no idea what's going on. You feel assaulted. Obviously, we've spoken out about it, but he's a bit like...
I don't want to say she's fucked up. I just think she needed a place to talk about this, or maybe to put it out there. And maybe she's still processing this, and maybe you're right, and it is unfair to put this out there so early if, you know, you're still processing it. But like
when I say fucked up...
Maybe we're just fucking up here because we're only catching this half of the video now.
Yeah, but when I say fucked up, when I say fuck up, I mean, if you two can't communicate, and you firmed it, and then you came to the internet, Alex is going to open his phone going, what?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be like, what the fuck's going on?
She's fucked his career because of a communication barrier.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Right? That's one avenue.
We're kind of leaping maybe jump into conclusions, Leo, I don't know.
We wait for like 2 hours for Alex to come while his friend is on the phone talking about like kids with cancer and big money transfers and things that had to do with Alex. And we were like, hey, it's getting kind of late. Like, is Alex coming? Like, what's the plan? Should we just go back home? Because we're kind of tired. Like, if we're going to have plans, can we, like, get on with it? Because it's...
Also, think about this. A girl in her late 20s who's selling her body online with a nose ring, single. Why would she, like... Think about why would she reject Alex Pereira? I'm not trying to glaze. I know this is not trying to be bumbleclad.
Is that the conversation? 2 belts? How many? Is that what we're saying? We're saying that this is again just such a non-fucking point. We're not saying she rejected him or that she would. She was clearly in that situation because she wouldn't. Do you see what I'm saying? She didn't reject him.
Sneako throws shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Dumb point to make though.
Well, it's not. Sneako doesn't really make many intelligent points, so.
Why would she reject Alex Pereira? What is he, 6'7", 2 belts? How many titles? 4? What else are you looking for if not Alex Pereira?
It's already getting very late. At this point, I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Alright, I don't even want to hear this witch talk. I ain't gonna lie. Oh no, look at her sad. Look at her face.
What's gonna happen?
Oh, really?
I'm pushing him off of me.
Oh,
get off.
Wait, really?
He eventually pulls my underwear.
Pushing him off me. No, with respect.
If you read the message as well.
I just think it's fucked to be sitting here reacting to Sneako's reaction to her grape story. Like, it should be a first-hand account. We should react to that. And then we look at what this clown... because I can't even hear.
Straight up arsehole.
I can't imagine seeing this if she's like genuinely like upset. Like, to see this reaction from someone is just fucked.
Well, this video that he's reacting to is a follow-up to the one that we watched.
Yeah.
Because when she put that out, everyone said you're lying, and that's where the message reads, she deserves it right in the glory hole for lying. So she put out this response video to say, I'm not lying. She's just giving the timeline of
Yeah.
events. So the grape story, we've already heard that.
So to be fair, she is giving more detail.
She's giving more detail,
She's
not
trying,
on
yeah.
the sex part, on the lead up to where Alex was.
No, she was. He fast forwarded all of her fucking response.
She said she pushed him off.
She literally said
Oh,
she
did she
pushed
say she
him
pushed
off.
him off?
Yeah.
And that's my fucking problem right there. When we are reacting to something really heavy and we're not even getting the full story. Like, all of our questions that we heard earlier would have been answered had we just watched her video. Because
Yeah.
it's such a serious topic. And to view it through fucking Sneako making fun of her just feels fucked.
Yeah. No, you're right. I don't know where if her original one is still up. What's she called? Mary G. Brown. Let me see if she's on TikTok. She might have taken it down.
Just to be impartial, you know? Like, I think we made some really good points about the miscommunication and the communication barriers and stuff that could happen. But, like, when we're talking about what happened to her specifically,
Yeah.
we should hear it from her, you know, and not from Sneako making fun of her, like, while she sobs. Shit makes me uncomfortable as fuck.
This guy.
Okay, this is like my 40th time trying to make this video, so I'm gonna try to do it again without crying. Alex Pereira's assistant, translator, I don't know who he is to him. His name is Mel. My friend followed him on Instagram over 2 months ago. He DMs her after she follows him, asks her questions like how long she had been doing kickboxing for, how she got into it, stuff like that. He asks her if she's going to the fight in New Jersey that we went to. I don't know what number it was. I'm not into it like that, like she is. This was my first time ever meeting Alex or knowing who he was. I'm not a huge UFC fan. I just got into it because my friend was into it. Alex's assistant, translator, best friend, whoever he was, his name is Mel, asks my friend if she wants to meet up with him in New Jersey when she goes to the fight. He also says that Alex is wondering if she has a friend for him. I know it sounds stupid and unbelievable because I couldn't believe it myself. Why is this guy asking a 20-year-old girl to put him on with one of her friends when he's a 30-year-old, however, father who should be able to just, like, talk to a woman his age at the fight? It was planned out on purpose because he does this all the time. My friend sends Mel, the assistant and the translator, whoever he was, he never really gave us an explanation who he was. She sends him my Instagram. Mel shows Alex my Instagram. Apparently, the only thing he said was chama. I'll try and find the text proof where my friend was telling me this. Which is disgusting now that I know what his intent was. We go to New Jersey. Mel hits up my friend, invites us both to a private training at a gym called Cruise MMA, where Alex is training. We're the only women in there except for this older woman who's married to one of the people that's also sparring. I'm hoping I can find security footage. My friend spars with him. I videotape the whole time, and I'm sitting down watching. I can post the video that I took also, where my friend is sparring with him. Him and Mel take me and my friend outside of the gym that we were in after the training session. He comes on to me, goes behind me, looks at my ass, and approves to his translator, which is also disgusting now that I know what his intent was, like I was cattle or something. Mind you, this man doesn't speak any English. I don't know what he's saying the entire time. His translator is translating for me everything he's saying and everything I'm saying.
Just before she goes on, what I'm confused. So she's saying that Alex went behind and basically approved that I guess she's fuckable, but I don't understand, what were they doing there? Because she said she's not into UFC. She already knew that the guy said, "Oh, can you put me and your friend on?" So the intention was very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she knew. I think they knew that it was like more of a date situation where they were eventually gonna maybe hook up, basically.
Yeah.
But it's obviously the other stuff, the anal. That's what I'm saying.
That part is all
I
fucked.
think
It's just
that's-
this part where she's going, oh, his intention. I think his intentions are pretty clear. That he's
No,
gonna
no.
try and have sex with you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not fuck her in the ass. Like,
Yeah. If what
you see
she's
I'm
saying, I didn't think his intentions were to rape me.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's
but
what I'm saying. Yeah. Like,
I don't know if
I
that's
think
what
of her.
is that
But
what
he's
she's.
saying it's disgusting, his behavior and stuff. So I'm just like, but you know what situation you're kind of putting yourself into right
Yeah,
now.
because at this point,
Mm.
I don't think rape would be on your mind. It would be, oh, he's gonna try and fuck me.
Yeah.
But I just likes my ass.
What are you, a guy that's never met you, can't speak English, goes up behind you and goes.
I mean, you added this.
I mean,
but
because he
everyone-
approved, right?
Yeah. You know,
Whether
I'm
it's a
not being
wink,
funny,
a head
but
nod,
isn't
or-
that just what people do? Look at a butt and you go,
No, but okay, let me put it to you like this, right? Let's say that I was going out and I told you guys, oh, let's say that I'm a big YouTube star or whatever. I say to you, oh, these girls are coming out from America to meet me. We're going to go out tonight. You know, I've never met them. We've never met before. You're going to think that we're going to hook up probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So when she's describing this situation, her wording, I would call into question because she's kind of playing it off like she had no idea that sex
No.
was going to occur.
you see, I'm taking it a different way. She's saying he looked at my ass, and obviously you can misconstrue and say that act in itself is like ew. But I think what she's saying is that his real intentions were to obviously rape her in the bum.
What are you taking for it?
I'm taking, she knew what the situation was because obviously she went there knowing he can get any girl.
Yeah,
Mm.
she said
But
it.
he obviously wanted to have sex with her. And she was like, yeah, this is what she wanted as well.
Yeah.
But there was just a miscommunication in where he was putting it in.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me so far. Let's let it play because I think that's what she's saying.
He tries to kiss me outside of Crew's MMA gym. I grab his face and I push him away. I will try to find security footage from a building around it if possible. We leave the training. They then invite us to like a meeting or like something.
So he tried to kiss her and she pushed him away. So she continued the night with him. Why would you even put yourself in that situation?
I guess it's more like company for the night because she said her friend was more into MMA and she was it with Mel or with another guy? I can't remember, but either way she was only there because he had asked her, do you have a friend from my friend Alex?
But so if a guy had to kiss you and you know what time it was and you felt uncomfortable, you pushed him away, are you going to stay in that situation?
If he tried to kiss you, right, but your friend is having a really good night, would you take a hit for the team and just be like, you know what, I've clearly just told him I'm not into kissing him. Let's continue the night and see where it goes because I'm open to being, what's the word, wooed? Like, maybe I'm not into kissing you right now, but let's see where the night goes.
With a complete stranger.
In my head, if I
People
had
do that on
an
nights out all
inkling,
the time.
But I think in a situation where it's a complete stranger and you've just met up, even if your friend is there, I do think you need to be a little
It's not
bit
a
more.
complete stranger though. It's a person of authority over you. Like they're a person that is in the public eye. People think they know him, you know, and you're only there as a double date. Essentially, you don't need to score, but
I think
it'd be nice if you
personally,
could score with the UFC guy, right?
yeah, I think that mentality, I think people need to, reality speaking, I know what you're saying, but that mentality kind of like absolves you of any responsibility because it's like, oh, this person, everyone knows him even though he doesn't know us. But I think that line of thinking is just setting yourself up. How many YouTube stars have we heard have done fuck shit this month
100%,
alone?
exactly.
So she has to take a little bit of responsibility. Yeah, your friend's having a good time, but
If you're not having a good time, remove yourself from the situation immediately.
if let's say I went on a date with some Russian girls, right, and I don't want to be sexual with them straight away, and the first thing she does is looks at my bum and then smiles at her friend and then goes in to kiss me. We haven't even gone on the date yet, and I've pushed her away already. I'm thinking this is long, man. She don't even speak English. I'm gonna say to my friend, bruv, handle them both while I'm out.
Yeah, except if that person is, let me name a famous person from a different like country that doesn't speak our language.
Oh, some Russian Instagram model.
Not even an Instagram model. Someone of equal like stature. This person's a sports personality, right?
Let's say that it's
A sports person, sorry.
let's say it's Amanda Nunes, right? She speaks English, but let's say she doesn't.
Yeah, but also,
I'd also
are
be
you gonna
scared.
fuck Amanda Nunes?
Well, she's a lesbian, but I'm just saying.
She's gonna
like,
fuck you, sorry.
of equal stature, she's like a badass UFC female champion. So
Yeah, but okay, that's fine. Let's say that.
yeah, I would say I don't want to do that. I'm not starstruck by people. Even when I
Yeah.
meet celebrities, I never take
guess,
out my phone to say,
I
"Oh,
guess
picture
in
time."
a way, I mean, because you're talking about sexual ideals, you know, and if we're talking about the ideal man for a certain type of woman, and she's saying, I like them 6 foot tall, and I like them built, and I like them buff, you know, and that's the checkbox. He's kind of ticking those boxes on an aesthetic level. So,
But do you not think that line of thinking kind of absolves her of a little bit of responsibility?
what do you mean?
Like he's already done a couple things that are like,
Oh, do you mean like it makes it so that she has to take some accountability for staying in the situation?
yeah, because she stayed in the situation with a stranger right now in a sport that she has no real interest in, and he's already done 2 things now where she's like, no, what are you doing?
So, if say she was like, not right now, like I'm still feeling you out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and she decides to continue the night, to not cock block her friend and not be the, you know, the Debbie Downer that wants to finish the night early, you know, she's also out with the sports personality. Like she's going to continue, she's going to continue to like go on with the night just to see and say that the experience happened. I spent the day or the evening or whatever doing it, blah, 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 with this person, with Alex. You see what I mean?
No, I hear what you're saying.
So
but
I
I'm
think-
saying with that mentality, you still have to accept.
okay,
You chose to go down
yeah,
this road. I get the pros and the cons situation.
Yeah, but you, like, again, you didn't agree to be raped. Like,
No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying we haven't got that far yet. We're just analysing this particular
like we're
part.
saying that, hey, like there's already alarm bells here.
Yeah.
This is potentially a dangerous situation.
And she's weighed it up. She's like, I'm
Remove
gonna
it,
go.
and
I'm gonna go for
stay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
So you have to.
Yeah.
I would say you have to.
Thing that was outside where they were like signing stuff, I guess, I don't know. But we turned it down because it was outside and it was super hot and we had already done our makeup and gotten ready for the UFC fight that night. So they then invite us to dinner before the UFC fight. We were gonna go out, according to them, but he sends us an address and our Uber takes us to a very nice hotel where Alex is staying and a bunch of, I guess, UFC fighters are also there. His assistant and translator, Mel, brings us into this fancy hotel. I can find security footage proof of this also. And it's just a bunch of like UFC people sitting in a circle. And Alex looks up at us, looks angry as fuck, and tells his assistant, Mel, to take us out of the hotel. And everyone is looking at us like, who are these girls? Why are they here? I don't know either. I'm just like there because they asked us to. And like, I didn't realize they were bad people. He makes us leave the hotel and he brings us to the Courtyard Marriott across the street from it. They have 2 hotel rooms that they have already bought for that night, which is disgusting. It was all planned out. They take us to the Courtyard Marriott across the street from the actual hotel that Alex is staying at. We go to the restaurant in the like lobby of the Courtyard Marriott. I can find security footage proof of this also. They buy us a flatbread pizza and then they ask, well, Mel is asking all of this. Alex doesn't speak any English, he's just translating. Mel asks us how old we are. I said, I'm 21. My friend says that she's 20 years old, not old enough to drink alcohol. So he talks to Alex, tells him how old we say we are, and then they buy us, I think, 2 glasses of wine. So, mind you, they're buying alcohol for a 20-year-old girl that is not old enough to drink alcohol, and this is on security footage. Didn't make me sign an NDA before he did any of this, like, just did it, because he does this all the time, probably. It was so routine and planned out. They're giving us drinks. Alex won't get off of me. I'm not into it because I don't know this man. I don't like being touched if I am not, like, if I don't know you and I'm not comfortable with you. Even if you're my family member, I just don't like being touched. I'm starting to get tipsy and I feel sick because I don't do well when I drink. But I'm trying to calm my nerves. He won't get off of me. He keeps asking me to go to the bathroom with him, or he's asking Mel, and Mel is telling me this. So I guess this is how he gets away with it, because he didn't technically, well, no, because he did it. He just technically didn't say any of it to my face. He said it through his translator, and his translator said it to my face. But his translator wasn't the one who assaulted me. He's telling his translator to ask me to go to the bathroom with him. I'm telling him no, because I don't do that. I get uncomfortable and nervous, and as much as you guys think that I'm this, like, whore, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on TikTok. As much as you guys think these things about me just because of the line of work that I do, I just do what I have to do to make ends meet. That has nothing to do with anything. I don't put out the first time meeting somebody because I have a lot of trauma and I get nervous and scared. I will try to find security footage. Legally, they have to be able to pull this up, right? Like, Alex can't, like, somehow, like, get it erased. That would literally not be fair. I'm gonna try my hardest to find the security footage. If it actually ends up, like...
My only issue with what she's saying right now is that these are serious allegations, and if there's security footage and she goes to the police saying that he's on camera doing this to me, they can grab the security footage. She
He's
doesn't
on
need to
camera
find
going
it.
on a date with her. And I think that this, by now, if we're saying it's just a date doesn't necessarily always end in sex. And I don't want to come off, like, essentially blaming her for being in a dicey situation, especially because it's a double date and you bear the, like, social responsibility of ruining the date for your friend, which you really don't want to do, and you don't want to ruin this situation because you're dating on a date with someone in a position of power, I guess.
But she said that he was on her, right? And she kept pushing him.
Yeah.
And if the police are going to need to follow a trail. So if she goes to the police and she gives them the timeline of events, they can pull that security footage. Her saying, I'll try and find it, she doesn't need to. She can literally go and tell them, look, I don't have any proof that he's done it because it's hard to prove, but I do have this timeline of event. Can you at least pull the security footage? The police will pull it. They take these situations quite seriously. So
It's a difficult thing to go to police. It's a very, like, long and arduous process. But I guess if it's worth it, you
Well,
know.
they were giving alcohol to underage.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
yeah, giving alcohol to underage girls is ridiculous. I don't know why they would do something
Well,
so
you
stupid
do. I mean, it makes
on
them
camera
more
as well.
malleable, like, in the sense that it loosens them up, like, mentally, whatever.
So there should be
physically.
some sort of consequences there for the alcohol part.
Absolutely, and you could argue, like, if we're saying that drunk people can't consent, that further fucking pushes this thing where it's like, yeah, maybe she's in a situation that she shouldn't be in, but there's a lot of, like, internal things where she's like, you know, like the things that we just discussed, not wanting to ruin this night, essentially, for your friend and ruin an opportunity for yourself because you don't know where this is going to go. Maybe you, further down the line, you have a conversation through a translator or whatever and you end up liking each other or whatever. You don't know. Like I said, it's just a date.
I feel like there were many red flags.
There
Looking
was-
at her
yeah, there was
arse,
red
the
flags.
There has been too many
track is
now.
Like, clearly, like, he was just only physically attracted to her and
Yeah.
there was never going to be a chance for them to actually get to know each other. I don't know, like...
At this point in the
dicey.
story, I can understand being in a situation that's dicey, but if I'm just playing the flip side of this, the whole camera thing is she doesn't need to do that. Police will do that for her. Going through a long process is going on social media, putting this story out there and being absolutely roasted by every single person that doesn't believe you and having to try to find the evidence that the authorities should be looking
Yeah, I
for
get
you. Also, if she's on camera with a 20-year-old, they'll get done for that. She won't get in trouble. He won't get in trouble for her because she's 21. But they will be able to see him on her, and they'll be able to see the translator getting in her face to say, well, they won't be able to hear what he's saying, but they'll be able to see some sort of motion that mirrors what she's saying. So she can get him, she can at least get him on her friend because he gave it to them. But there's already been so many red flags here, and she's only tipsy at this point, so she hasn't lost all her faculties.
Yeah.
At this point, at the very least, when you're in a public setting, he hasn't gotten you behind closed doors.
Okay, actually, let's examine the real flip side. Okay? Because right now, I think it's very... Why are we just questioning her? Like,
I
you
thought
are
you
a
were
man on a
questioning
date.
Alex.
but now I am.
Okay.
You're a man on a date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you are not the primary person on this date. Your friend is going out with a girl.
Yeah.
And you've asked your friend, ask her if she's got a friend for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She brings a friend. That doesn't necessarily, she's not a prostitute.
No.
That does not equal, I'm going to fuck you. Okay? So that's not consent.
Mm-hmm.
If then further down the line, he's checking her out and she's giving social cues that she's not really into you like that. Yeah? Like you try to kiss her and she's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then further down the line, you then continue to make advances towards this person, yeah, when they're clearly not interested, and you, the person of power and authority, know that she's not going to leave because of your position of power and authority. When you view it through that lens, it becomes like, why isn't the burden of reading the fucking signals on him?
I think it is also on him.
But it's the main, he's the perpetrator of the advances. She's the one saying, hey dude, we can be on this date and not be physical at all. It could just be conversations between us, because clearly you can't speak a word of English. So what communication was going to happen here anyway? It is literally just a +1 situation. I don't have to have sex with you for them two to have a good time.
Correct.
Right? So in all of
But what
this,
you're saying, I don't disagree with any of
yeah,
it.
I know you don't.
I think you have to look at both avenues.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
you're saying, I completely agree
But
with.
I just wanted to focus on that because I feel like we're focused so heavily on her and like why she didn't, read the signals of putting herself in a bad situation. But I think we've analysed enough that potentially her reasons for not ending the night was, well, they're there,
I definitely agree with you, but I just think when you're a nobody and you're going to meet someone with such a high influence like that, what do you think the night's gonna end like? You're going there to have sex. He doesn't want to just meet you, So I think like
I don't want to
there
make
was some
assumptions
sort of
about him.
inkling of how the night was gonna play out.
My issue is that I can 100% see a man in a position of power pushing his weight around. But I also don't like how people play dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little bit of playing dumb here. So I can completely sympathize with everything Ellie said, and I agree. But she also sounds like she's trying to pull wool over our eyes. Not some situations can be 80-20, 70-30.
In what way though?
The whole this was disgusting, and when this came to light, this was disgusting. When it's like everything you said so far is so blindingly obvious that you saying that I'm a 21-year-old going through a page just now to get to this video, you are well aware of how the internet works and what men are like. She's also an OnlyFans model, so she's gonna kind of have an understanding of people that don't accept a no, because I assume when you're on OnlyFans you get requests from people and they get really pushy and you say no over and over again.
I guess it's for a screen though, isn't it? So you have the safety there. It's very different. Say for example, a person with social anxiety can do OnlyFans, but they may not necessarily be or do well in real life scenarios. It's
true, that's also true. It's
and
possible that she can't do well at
I mean,
work.
she said it herself. Like she doesn't like to be. She doesn't put out on first dates because she feels uncomfortable with people that, touch her, even family members. She just doesn't like to be touched. She's got a lot of trauma. She said so.
So she could be telling the truth.
Yeah.
She could also be saying that to butter up the audience. I think you need to accept that both can be true.
I just think that when you're an OnlyFans model, like you said, she's done this. How long has she been doing OnlyFans for?
Her page is it's been there for some time. Yeah.
So she's been doing it a little while. Like I doubt this is the last thing or the only thing her career needed, or it's probably the fucking last thing that you want to post. It's not going to do anything for her career, dude. Like why would she post this?
Well, she's going to gain a massive amount of. I mean, this has happened before where women have lied and they've gained a lot of popularity from it, and it's come to light.
I mean, I can't.
Simp culture is huge, and if people feel sympathy for her, it stands to reason she could drive a lot of traffic to her
I
page.
think when you think about not the legality of it, and we talk about the moral argument, where it's like morally, when someone shows you they're uncomfortable during sex, the right thing is to just fucking stop and be like, hey man, you okay?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to stop?
Mhm.
You know, communicate. And that clearly hasn't happened here at all. And I think it's possibly just as black and white as that. Like, even if we don't talk about the legality of it, because like we said, they are just allegations right now. She hasn't gone to the police. We're not talking about the legality at all. We're talking about morally. That's why she's come to the court of public opinion. Maybe she's thinking legally he maybe didn't fall or doesn't fall under the definition of rape, but to me, surprising me with something like that definitely feels like it was. And if this has happened, because she said that it was such a what's the word, when a routine scheduled thing, like he did it multiple times.
Yeah, it's casual for
Yeah, it was very casual for him. I think she's putting it out there because even though it took her time to kind of process the situation, maybe there are other people that have been through that situation as well, like she said, that may come forward and actually together they can say, yeah, whilst we didn't go to the police straight away, he is a person, you know, in a position of power. People don't tend to, like, I don't know, I don't want to say people don't tend to believe victims like this. It's just that people tend to always think clout, you know? And
I feel
just
like
think
people don't intend to believe them when they go to social media first.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why are you on social media airing this when you should really go to the police to get the justice you need and then air it, you know?
It is a bit odd that the first thing you do is go to social media. I do think that's a bit of an odd thing to do. I think if you went to the police and the police did not handle your case properly and they kind of threw it out, you're sitting there for like 2 years, then it's like, I've got no choice now.
Yeah.
I need to air this out to people so people can crucify this guy. But your first thing is when something as serious as that happens, and from what she said she bled, right? That's quite serious, right? I'm assuming he probably bust inside her as well. If something like that happened, I'm not saying that you're gonna have all your faculties.
We don't know. He probably wore a condom. We don't know that.
Maybe he wore a condom.
And this is the problem. Like,
They have the facilities to test if it was forceful or not.
If there was a laceration and she bled, would they be able to figure out that there was a kind of timeline and there was an insertion?
Yeah, absolutely. But this is what I'm saying. Like, it's also an incredibly invasive situation. Like, to go from shit, like, did that just happen, to having to process, yeah, that shit fucking just happened to you. And you want to get in the shower straight away. And she literally said herself, not knowing if I could. Like, you're going through a lot. And I think we put a lot. Obviously, I know it's what's necessary to gain the evidence that's necessary to convict or to prove. But at the same time, it's a lot. Like, the burden of proof is on the victim there. And it's a lot to carry when you're also carrying a lot of the trauma so fresh from the incident.
But if you go through the motions of saying I've worked up the courage to speak about it now, I still don't understand why you wouldn't go to the police first.
Because they just won't do anything with it.
What's the public gonna do?
To be honest, they do a lot more than police. Like, cancellations are a big thing. Like, his career will take a big hit, and maybe this is exactly what she is intending, that she knows that she's not going to get a criminal conviction here. I can't prove that you raped me because this happened and it took me this long to get through. But what I can do is say, if this happened to more than one person, you should pay for this. And I agree with that. I think that if there are more girls that come out that have these weird fucking seedy stories about this guy, then maybe there's fucking, there's no smoke without fire, as they say. You know, maybe there's some truth to these allegations, and maybe it's not that he's a rapist. Maybe he just, or maybe by accident in himself, like his lack of education around this topic and understanding that this is unacceptable behavior, because you think you're in a position of power and you can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You know, when you realize that that's unacceptable. I'm not saying that he's a kid. Like, he knows probably what he's doing is wrong. Like, surely if
what she's saying is true.
If what she's saying is true, and the situation was literally like, I showed you I'm uncomfortable, and you continued, or you could see that I was clearly bleeding, you know, things like that.
Yeah. The only problem is, with the UFC and the fan base in the UFC, if you come forward against one of their champions like that, especially against, Dana's going to protect his own. He's going to protect his guy. He's going to say, no evidence, no hearing. And so I'm not saying that she's going to be able to work out how to handle this situation the same way that someone's looking on the outside in. But with something like this, I'm not saying that her story is not the truth. It's just the way she's handled it. She's set herself up to be basically crucified and buried because of the kind of environment the UFC exists in. Unless you come forward with evidence, Dana's gonna tell you to piss off, and he's gonna continue putting Alex Pereira in fights. So I don't know what her thought process was or how long this has been since this happened to her, but I don't know if she was just sitting in a room thinking today will be the day I'll just talk about it, or she actually did some research first to figure out, I'm going to put this online. Alex Pereira is a big star. Other women have come forward with rape allegations before. Some of them people listen to depending on who it is. Some of them people crucify them immediately.
Has he had allegations made about him before?
No, Alex Pereira's never had any. He's never had any bad press. He's
Yeah.
been in. Alex Pereira's been involved in martial arts since I can't even remember, like way before UFC. He used to be a kickboxing champion as well. So this is the first we're ever hearing of something like this.
Going to court or like something happens. I don't know what I was expecting. I just posted it because I just wanted to talk about it. I go to the bathroom with my friend after Alex has been coming on to me the whole night, and I feel sick and uncomfortable and like I'm about to throw up. I tell her in the bathroom, at no point during this whole entire visit with these people are you to leave me, because I'm not comfortable. We agree that we won't leave each other at any point, because Mel, the assistant and the translator, is also hitting on my friend, who's 20 years old. I don't know how old this man was. I'm trying to tell Alex's assistant to tell Alex that I don't put out like that after I meet someone for the very first time, and that I need him to get to know me and to work for it. I, quote, said to his translator, trying not to be a prude and annoying, but I told him, I was like, how do I say you have to work for it? His assistant laughs, tells Alex, and Alex tells his assistant to tell us that he really likes us and he's going to take us on a trip to the Dominican Republic to get to know us better, because I guess he's trying to like convince me that he's not, you know, just trying to take advantage of me. So I'm like, okay, like that's great. I don't have a passport. Like, can you like let me know like when this is happening so I can like pack and like get ready for it? Like, I mean, I make my own money and I don't need this man's money. Is not me trying to get his money. I literally could not care less if I don't get anything out of this except for to find my own voice again. I just wanted to talk about my story. I was not expecting his fans to be as bad as he is, but I guess I should have known. We have to split up because it's time to go to the UFC fight. His translator and Alex go on their own. Me and my friend take an Uber. It goes terribly. The fight ends. Afterwards, his assistant Mel sends an Uber to our location after the UFC fight and brings us back to the courtyard Marriott where we were gonna go out. We were gonna go there and they were gonna drive us, and they were talking about going to, I don't know, they were talking about going to strip clubs. Just to be clear also, that picture that I posted where everyone is saying that it looks like I'm a fan that asked him to take a picture with me, I did not ask for that picture. I asked for no pictures. I didn't know who this man was. My friend asked for pictures with him after asking me to record her sparring with him, and then he asked on everyone that I know and love's life. He asked for pictures with me. I did not ask for those pictures. He asked his assistant to ask my friend after he asked to take the pictures. He asked his assistant to ask my friend to have me send the pictures to her, and then she sends it to my assistant because he wanted the pictures, because it was probably a trophy for him. I did not ask for those pictures. That's besides the point. But basically, his assistant sends us an Uber to where we are after the UFC fight and brings us back to the courtyard Marriott where we were supposed to be waiting for Alex to get back from an interview, I think he said, and then we were going to go out. He was talking about going to strip clubs and like having a fun night while we were all in New Jersey, New York for the weekend. We wait for like 2 hours for Alex to come while his friend is on the phone talking about like kids with cancer and big money transfers and things that had to do with Alex. And we were like, hey, it's getting kind of late. Like, is Alex coming? Like, what's the plan? Should we just go back home because we're kind of tired? Like, if we're going to have plans, can we like get on with it because it's already getting very late. At this point, I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. Eventually, Alex comes to the hotel room after the interview that he was at, and he says that he doesn't want to go out. He wants to enjoy the time that he has with the people he's with. Some bullshit like that. And then he takes off his clothes, gets into bed, orders food, and then is trying to get me to get into bed with him. My friend and me and the translator are all sitting on the couch, and he's just sitting in bed staring at me and telling his translator to tell me things and trying to convince me to get into bed with him. I eventually get into bed with him because I was naive, I guess. I didn't think that anything was going to happen. My friend was there with me. I had told her not to leave me at any point. She had told me not to leave her with the assistant.
I mean, she walked into that one.
I think I've heard enough. Like,
It's a real weird situation
this is why you don't fucking meet random celebrities, bruv. Like, what? Again, I guess it's fucked to say, but you're right. Clearly, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen in this scenario where this guy cannot communicate with you? Like, they clearly want to fuck, and if you're not willing to do that and follow those signals, maybe just vacate the situation entirely as soon as you can.
from time he gets into bed naked,
I'm
that's my cue to leave
I'm
if I'm not
fucking
willing
out.
to do anything with him.
Yeah.
gone. There's
'Cause
no
where's the
way.
friend?
Like, she's on the couch.
Yeah, sitting there.
No, if that's your friend and you don't want to do something, this man's naked in bed. He's an absolute unit of a man.
You'd be
and
like,
you're gonna
"Let's
be
go."
scared. Your friend's gonna be like, okay, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
Enough's enough. If it was girls, right? I'm cautious of like falling asleep next to a stranger, right? Like you go out to a club, you meet a girl, you bring her home, you fall asleep, she's awake next to you. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
Man, this is fucked as well.
But I've been in this situation, yeah.
Everyone's been in
I
a
was
situation
with my
like
girl. We go to these guys' house, yeah. We know them, and then she goes into the room with this guy, and then I'm left in the room with another guy who's way older than me.
Yeah.
He strips and he gets butt naked, and then he tries it with me, and I'm like, hell no. I go next door and I say to my girl, I'm leaving. You can stay if you want to stay, but I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So she does a decent thing. She gets her shit together and we leave.
Yeah.
Like, this was like 3 o'clock in the morning and we just left. Like, that would have been the decent thing to do.
The thing is, though, I think that it's easy to say because you are who you are in it, like with the experiences that you have. But when you are a person who's been through maybe a lot of fucking shit and not dealt with it the same way, your instincts are not going to be the same. And I assume that looking back on this, is as much as we turn around and we're like, oh, fuck, like, why'd you get in bed with him? Do you not fucking think she's also sitting there like, fuck me, like, why the fuck did I get in bed with him? Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a guilt in that, where victims do feel a real level of guilt for putting themselves in certain situations with the naivety that if nothing's going to happen if I don't want it to. Do you see what I'm saying? And that you maintain a veil or this idea of control that you actually don't have because it makes you feel comfortable in the situation. It makes it easier for you to digest thinking that you have a semblance of control, when in actuality, when push comes to shove, you realize that you had none and that you just you didn't turn away when you could. And that is another level added where you've just got to process that shit and realize that when fight or flight came, it was freeze as well. Like,
It's interesting to hear these things because my mind has never worked that way. When I feel frightened, I exit immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as I feel any kind of fear, and I thought that was normal. When people feel fearful of something, they leave. I've never understood the freeze thing. Because I've been in situations where there's been a gun involved, knives involved. Other girls have like tried to set some of my friends up, and I've been there, and I've just said to them, "Let's just run."
but you can understand that people do freeze, right?
I
Like
I
that reaction
understand.
for people.
I understand like freezing in fear, but she didn't necessarily freeze. She looked at the situation, processed what was going on, and complied.
No, you're assuming she processed the situation. This is an idea where you freeze in your processing. So it's like you're just going through the motions with the idea that nothing can happen if you don't want it to, right? But actually, when push comes to shove, you've realized that you've pushed yourself or convinced yourself that you have control in a situation where you're actually gradually giving more and more of it away.
Yeah.
Until you have none, and you're in a situation with someone in a position of power where I haven't told you no all these other times, or I have in many different ways. You've not read those cues. What's going to stop you from reading this one? Like, you're not going to.
Okay, I'm going to say something that might sound a bit crazy, yeah. But you're saying that like you sort of freeze and you just go through the motions. But isn't that the same line of thinking that these predators give as well when they ask them, why did you do that? And they go, I don't know. I just did it.
No, I think that there's an instinct in them. They're clearly attracted to kids. This is not.
No, they're attracted to kids, but
a
lot of
saying
them.
He's attracted to grape.
No, what I'm saying is that they understand the situation that they're getting themselves into, or they understand that it's breaking the law, but their affinity for children makes it so that they forget that they're supposed to follow the law and not do these things, and then when they get questioned, they go, I don't know, I was just being stupid, I don't get it. Don't you think that?
Struggling to put the point. Sorry.
I think that's completely different.
It's different, but what I'm saying is that they tried to make out like they weren't really there when they were. That's the excuse to give. Now I know it's bullshit.
Like, I don't know, or they'll get all depressed and start crying like there's something wrong with me. I'm just like, I've seen a lot of those Chris Hansen videos.
And you say, but you did know.
Like,
you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, you could say, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they have an urge within them. It's a completely different thing. She doesn't have an urge to put herself in fucked up situations. You could argue that he's more in that regard if he is the predator. And he doesn't know that this is an issue. I just go through the motions. I black
100%.
I just put it in, like places where I shouldn't.
100% agree with you. What I'm saying is that all of them in this situation, Alex Pereira, if he did this, he can't turn around and go, I don't know why I was doing it. I was going through the motions. And for me, listening to her story, I'm also like, the guy got naked. He's ordered food, and now he's telling his translator. And I imagine that the conversation wasn't like that. He told his translator a couple of things. Translator probably tried to butter her up, and she heard it. She processed what he said, and she determined, okay, I'm going to get into bed with him. And then she said, I didn't think anything was going to happen when I got in bed. He's just stripped.
But she hadn't. So that's why I'm just like, what is...
But he's also been grabbing you up all night. He's also tried to kiss you. He's looked at your bum and given it the okay.
And you've given him all of the no's in every one of those. Like, he's being extremely pushy.
Isn't that worse? You say no to someone, they keep going. So at that point, you know what they're going to do. They're not going to listen to you.
Agreed. But at the same time, you've been told no many times and you're still going. You're the fucking predator.
No, I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying he is the predator.
Yeah, right, but... equally, like, if she's a fucking gazelle, like in this situation, and he's the lion, like, the gazelle can fucking freeze, and in a situation where she doesn't feel safe anywhere, there isn't maybe like a safe exit plan for her.
I think she had many opportunities to exit
before it got to that point.
Yeah.
It's her wording that I've got a problem with, where she's saying that I didn't think anything was going to happen. If she said, I felt fear and I knew it was going to happen, but I did it because it's Alex Pereira, I could have been like, I hear that. You're in a room with two dudes. Your girl's sitting on the couch. He just doesn't speak English. This is a giant of a man. Yeah. But she said, I didn't know what was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. The guy, you've said no to him about 100 times already. You know exactly. Yeah, she's. I don't like it when people try to manipulate me into feeling bad for them.
Okay.
I would have felt bad for you if you said to me, if you came up to me, Mike, Alex Pereira stripped up in front of me. I was terrified. I got in bed with him because he's Alex Pereira. I'm in a hotel room. I said, cool. I hear that. But if you turned around to me and you explained your entire night and said, I didn't really think anything was going to happen, I would say to you, are you stupid? Of course you knew something was going to happen. You said no to him 100 times. How many more no's does it take?
Yeah.
The wording is very manipulative, and it makes me think the story may not be entirely true.
I think that if we're taking it with a grain of salt and we're saying, hey, say the situation is true and this did happen, if you've got a story where the guy's clearly giving all the okay signals, where like the go signals, and she's giving all the stop signals, and somehow this weird situation occurs where they're in bed together, and I think that's more of where the power dynamics come into play. And I think it's okay to not necessarily voice or say what you feel coherently. But I think it's closer to what you were saying, where he's fucking Alex Pereira, you know, and I may not know who he is, but just the association of my friend knowing who he is because she's into UFC, you know, I know this is a big deal.
I hear that.
And there's a lot of responsibility on me right now to not fuck this up or to not be the one that ruins this.
I can understand. I can imagine, like, say it was the president. You're not going to say anything to the president. You're just going to roll with it. But if you came and spoke to me and then you said to me, "Oh, I didn't know what was going to happen," what do you mean? We're talking privately now. She's telling us over the internet, right? So she's telling us, "Oh, I didn't know what was going to happen." That's where I'm a bit like, don't be stupid. Just tell the truth. Maybe it did happen, but the way you're wording it is obviously going to make people go,
I get you.
You're not making sense.
Yeah.
At any point, I thought that we were going to be fine. I thought I was going to be able to maybe try and get myself comfortable by getting into bed with him and cuddling with him if there was people in the room. I just have problems of my own. I have trauma. This is not the first time that this has happened to me. I was just naive, I guess. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I got into bed with him. My friend was there. So was the assistant. I thought I was going to be fine. He starts touching me down there repeatedly. I keep pushing him off. I keep pushing his hand off. I keep bringing his hand back up to like my waist so that we can just like cuddle, because I'm comfortable with cuddling. I'm not comfortable with putting out with somebody that I don't know. I just met literally for the first time. He's huge, scary, doesn't speak any of my language, and I wasn't comfortable putting out with him because that's just not what I do. He keeps touching me. I keep pushing him off. Eventually, me and my friend say that we're very tired and we would like to go to sleep. They turn all the lights off. My friend and the assistant get into bed. It's a queen-size bed that they get into. I'm in a queen-size bed right next to it with Alex. Me and my friend are on the inside of the bed looking at each other under the blankets. He keeps pulling the blanket over me, keeps trying to touch me. I feel suffocated. I feel uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. I've pushed him off so many times at this point, and he's not taking the hint, and these men are clearly not caring about my comfortability. Mind you, again, I don't know what I was thinking. I was naive, I guess. I guess you could say I asked for it by getting into bed with him. I didn't know that this was going to happen. I'm pushing him off of me. He won't get off. He eventually pulls my underwear and my pants down to around like halfway on my thighs, and I push him off again. He gets out of bed. He starts screaming and putting his socks and his clothes on. I'm terrified because I don't know what's happening. My pants are around my legs after I told him no and pushed him off, and he's screaming in another language. Me and my friend are looking at each other, hiding under the blankets, like about to start bawling our eyes out. And he starts telling his translator that he doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him and my friend, and that he wants them to leave. His translator and my friend leave the hotel room. His translator and my friend leave the hotel room. He immediately starts trying to take my clothes off. He starts trying to take my socks off. I try to tell him no, because I have blisters on my feet from walking around New York in heels for like 10 hours the night before, and I had band-aids on my blisters, and they were going to get ripped off with my socks. I tried to explain to him, don't take my socks off, please. He didn't understand that. So at that point, I'm like, okay, fuck. I'm in a room with a huge man that doesn't speak English. He's not understanding what I'm saying. He doesn't give a fuck because I've pushed him off so many times, and he doesn't care. And he like got up and screamed and scared me into staying in the room with him and making his assistant and my friend leave the room.
So there's a couple things here. I know you guys have never seen Alex Pereira. Her saying that he screamed is like saying that Michael Jackson like has a deep voice. No, I've never seen Alex Pereira even raise his voice. Now I know obviously people can act differently behind closed doors, but it sounds very alien.
I think everyone yells. I think we can agree that when people get angry, people yell. You know, some, not everyone, I guess, but most people yell, right? They raise their voice.
It just sounds
different.
Maybe,
no, of course.
to her, in that situation where the raising of his voice wasn't necessary, maybe him just raising his voice was like a shout at 3 o'clock
Or
in the
maybe
morning.
he said something in his language.
And it's
higher
like maybe
pitch,
more
like,
aggressive.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Now I can imagine again knowing what Alex Pereira looks like. Him
would
getting
sound
angry
angry.
would scare anyone.
yeah.
But my other question is, when he got angry and told the assistant to leave
Yeah.
with her friend, what the fuck was her friend thinking?
Mm.
If I can understand being a girl and seeing Alex screaming, because as a guy, hearing that guy scream, you might think someone's gonna die. But I would, if I was that scared, I'd leave the room with my phone and call the fucking police. This guy's screaming his head off and trying to take my friend's clothes off, but she leaves with the assistant and leaves her friend in there.
Yeah.
What kind of friend does that? That doesn't sound. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it doesn't sound like she's a friend.
No.
That's a bit of a fuck situation.
Yeah,
The man's just shouted
sounded
his head off.
My
Especially-
friend was pretty scared. as well.
Especially you made the deal to stick together all night. I'd be
Yeah.
pissed at my friend.
Yeah, it's true. I would
Yeah.
have left probably with my friend, but just because, like I said, like just because we would react a certain
Mhm.
way, you know, I'm just taking it at face value. Like, obviously, she's lived a completely different life. We don't know the shit that she's had to carry
Yeah.
or how that has affected her fight or flight response.
At this point, I know what's happening. I've been through this before. I know that it's just easiest if I just shut my mouth, do what I have to, put on whatever performance that I have to make it end. He puts me on top of him so that I don't know how much of this I'm allowed to say on TikTok. He puts me on top of him so that we are... I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but he puts me on top of him so that we're 69ing. I think that it's just gonna be like normal, like he just pressured me into having sex and he scared me into having sex with him. It's whatever, like, it's nothing that hasn't happened to me before. Like, I'll just, you know, keep it inside like I usually do and just live with it. He starts using multiple of his fingers, forcefully pushing them into my ass. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not. Everybody's asking for an explanation, so here it is. This is literally just the truth. It's disgusting and embarrassing, and I've tried to make this video so many times, and I keep crying, and I just feel disgusting and humiliated and violated, and I know people are gonna laugh at me, and people are gonna say that I deserved it, and think that it's funny what I'm about to say. You can laugh, it's whatever, and like, I just thought that, like, this would help me heal by talking about it. He's basically fisting my ass at this point. It hurts really bad, and I'm blacking out and disassociating and, like, just trying not to be there while it's happening. Before his assistant had left the room, I had told him to please tell Alex that I was very nervous. I don't put out on the first time meeting somebody like that. Please emphasize to Alex that I'm very nervous. I haven't had sex with a lot of people. I have a lot of sexual trauma. I freeze up in the moment, and I am not able to have sex with people like that when I first meet them, and I told his translator to tell him that.
Alright, so this is the one that we already saw. So that's now the full context of the situation.
I think the full context was important because I think you mentioned several times, like, if her wording of it was primarily what, you know, you had issue with, and obviously her turning around and saying, listen man, like, I don't know what to say, like, I was fucking scared. He's Alex. I went to bed with him, I put myself in this situation, and you can blame me for it. And it was actually sad to hear her say that, because in a way the naivety went away, where she knows, like, I put myself in that fucking situation, but it was because of the previous things that she's been through that nobody else knows. We have no idea what led her to be in that room, or what fucked up dynamics happened to her previously to make her feel like these situations seem to be quite prevalent. It sucks for her, like, that's so shit.
Yeah, so with this situation, if she is telling the truth, then, you know, I have the same stance on all rapists. You should bury them beneath prisons. However, if I don't know why you would lie about something like this, and that's in such great detail. But if she did turn out to be lying, whatever punishment Alex was going to get, she should get the exact same.
Unless it's what we said, and it's not necessarily that it was a lie. It's just that there's a huge communication barrier here. But there's this huge underlying thing where body language was clear.
Well, I don't think the miscommunication thing comes in. Sorry, you're going to say something? I think the miscommunication thing goes out the window now, because she said that they were in bed and she pushed him off several times. Yeah. There's no miscommunication, and any language people get that. He then stood up and started screaming by her account. So there's really this gigantic UFC fighter putting the fear of God in everyone in the room, then tells these people to leave. Yeah. Then
he pushes his authority at that
pushed his authority. At this point, the miscommunication is out the window. It doesn't matter what language you speak, we will know what's happening.
It's the language of fear at that point.
So if Alex did do it and what she's saying is true, then there's the miscommunication arguments out the window. If he didn't, and she made that all up, she's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Her social media career will likely be over. And if it was up to me, whatever I was going to do to Alex, I would do to her to make an example, because obviously there's women that do actually go through it. Yeah. And if someone's bullshitting like that, and someone else actually got raped by another UFC fighter, and they come forward after this, everyone's going to be like, I'm not listening to this. Yeah.
Because X and Y said this and in 2000, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I don't think we need to listen to the rest of what Sneako was saying, because
we all get the gist of that. That was fucking disgusting.
He's an arsehole.
Sneako's an idiot any way you want to cut it. He's not. There's nothing intelligent that comes out of his mouth.
I would like to know her status with her friend though.
Yeah, me too.
I would like to know that either.
But to be honest, her friend also, like, when she was talking about it, she very much made it seem like her friend seemed to also be scared as well. Like, almost didn't really want to be in that situation, and it just seemed like two people that went in way too deep in something that they weren't ready for. They're young, like they're 20s. This is probably like some of their first experiences of this. Like they're just gaining the experience and the confidence to be like, no, oh, okay, and this is when we leave. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't know that until you've been through that. It's so easy for us as fucking 30-year-olds to turn around and be like, you should know. Like, no, you don't know until you experience that shit and you realize what your boundaries are like, what your reactions are like, and when it's comfortable for you to know, oh shit, before it gets to that point, I'm leaving now.
I think my only pushback to that is that kids are on the internet so early these days. They're exposed to so much. We receive so much information every day, and it's become very normal for us to... The reason that people react in the way that I reacted is that you hear about this stuff all the time, and these people make their living online. They're chronically online. So I don't believe that they don't hear about this stuff either. So when a stranger tells a girl that's in her 20s or 21 years old, it's not like when we were 20. When we were younger, the internet wasn't a massive thing. The internet's massive from the age of like 5 now. These kids know how to use things that we never understood back then. So when a man messages you, because I see this all the time on TikTok and Instagram, oh, he flew me out here, flew me out there, and then some of them turn into horror stories. I'm just like, well, a stranger asked you to come out. You're chronically online, so I don't believe that you don't understand how these things work, because I see these young girls on Twitter saying, I can't believe he did this to you, I can't believe he did this, and then you get the same girl saying, I got flown out to here, I got flown out to there. You might get flown out 10 times, but the 11th time, that guy in Dubai might have nefarious means, and then you're going to complain. I have to put some onus on you. You need to be more responsible. 20-year-olds are not the same today as when we were 20. Yeah. They are much more aware not to do these things. Especially because a large bulk of OnlyFans models are like 18 to 24.
Like I said, the experience through a screen is not the same as having genuine experience in person. Just because you are comfortable doing something through the safety of a screen where no one can actually touch you is very different to feeling very vulnerable, maybe a little bit in too deep.
But don't you think, like, not even just in this situation, like when we see there's like civil wars breaking out around the world, and we experience the pain that the people are going through there through our screens. Although we're not there, we understand what the situation is. And then you turn around to me and say, I'm booking a holiday, or I'm going to this place, or and you've seen how these situations play out. Like maybe riots kick off in certain places and you're like, oh, I want to go and support because it's a good cause. I'm going to go march. And I look and I'm like, we've seen the BLM riots. We're watching the riots in the UK right now. I understand what you want to do, but are you stupid? It's one of those situations where I really have to question, what were you thinking at the time? And I think you have to do that, especially because we're putting this on the internet. There might be young girls that watch this and they might not like my take, but at the end of the day, they need to be more aware.
Yeah, it's important to know that you do have some control in certain situations. Not always. Obviously, there are awful situations where it is an element of surprise and you literally are put in just the worst kind of situation where you don't have a choice. But say, for example, you're in a situation where there are red flags, you know, I urge all women and girls specifically, because obviously we are the smaller, like we tend to be smaller and men tend to be stronger than us the majority of the time. Obviously, that's not to say that there aren't male victims as well that absolutely need to protect themselves too.
Yeah, I've had the same conversation with my boys where they're like, there's like a beautiful Asian girl, a beautiful Latina that's messaged them going, "Oh, come meet me here." Like, bro, you're gonna lose your insides. She's gonna set you up, and they'll be like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And this happens to people. They end up on the black market, right?
Yeah, no,
There's more than enough information out there for you to have an idea of like, to have some sort of boundaries with yourself going into situations like that.
Yeah, the only reason I'm more harsh now is because I think we, like I said, when we were 18, we didn't use the internet like this. We weren't online. We were outside. 18-year-olds are much more advanced than what we were.
Well, we're creating half of the content that comes out now, like our demographic, you know,
Yeah.
30, 40s, 20s.
So that's because because of our real world experience, it's easier for us to make statements about things and like on a larger scope. But these kids exist online. By the time you're like 6, you've already like played with 1,000 people on Fortnite, and you've been on Facebook. You're already trolling. A lot of these memes come from kids, that are really stupid memes. So they've gotten to a point now where they're learning about what goes on online and around the world much sooner than what we did. Absolutely. So that's why a lot of these people are like, oh, they were too young to know. A girl that is, I don't want to call her a sex worker, but she's putting herself out there on the internet and she's probably interacting with a lot of different men who are probably pushy online. You should have the wherewithal to translate and be like, if they're pushy online, they're probably pushy in real life. They're probably worse behind closed doors.
I guess you don't expect it from a celebrity though. You know, especially one that, like you said, has nothing negative or no negative press about him. You've no reason to believe that this person is going to do you any harm or that this is anything more than just a date based on what you've heard.
Even at this point, like, we've had Dr. Disrespect, we've had Cody Ko, we've had that Chris Tyson. Celebrities, they're just people. Yeah. They're just people and they have power. When you got power, people do shitty things. Now, I'm not saying Alex did it. We're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah. But that is what the allegations she's put forward are
very serious.
They're extremely serious. So I would like to see that security footage, because that will obviously, then we'll know. At least we know she actually was there in that situation. Alex was being too forward, because then we can at least go from there.
Yeah. And I definitely advise anyone out there going through something like that to go to the police.
Yeah.
Go to the police.
Don't go to social media first.
At least police first, so that you can at least turn around and say, listen, man, I at least made my report. It's up to them what they decide to do with it. If they decide to close your case, they decide to treat you like, unfortunately, a lot of victims where, you know, their cases don't go anywhere because of lack of evidence. You know, I know it's a harsh thing to put yourself through, but you put so much, like, in the sense of on your back for the victims that come forward later on. You know, if that person ends up having 5 allegations against him, you know, that 6th victim is way more likely to be believed and maybe go forward and turn out that, oh, actually now everyone believes you too, because this is proven. You know, sometimes things take patience and it takes a lot of hard work, and I don't envy the hard work that it must take and the courage that it takes to actually tell your story when you have actually been through something that fucked up.
Any closing thoughts, Joss? No, is that it? Well, the camera's about to die, so let's wrap it up.